Hello, everyone. Welcome to Show&Tell. This is the Linked Open Data Special Interest Working Group presentation. And our presenter today is Adrian Pohl from HPZ, who'll be talking about lobid, their linked data aggregation and publishing service. I don't have many announcements. I'd like to remind people who are planning to go to Igloo in St. Petersburg that we will have a joint special interest working groups business meeting with presentations from Ex Libris and updates on linked open data and interoperability, as well as analytics and knowledge bases. So be on the lookout for that and try to work it into your program if you can. And without further ado, I'm going to ask Adrian to introduce himself and start off.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm Adrian Pohl from HPZ in Cologne, Germany, and yeah, I'm working in a small team of 4 people, most of them in part-time, on linked open data services, and you will see what we are doing in this presentation. Yeah, I'm a librarian, academic librarian, and have studied communication science before and philosophy, and yeah, and I'm doing what you could say I'm doing some work of a product owner and the librarian work, mapping the data and so on. Yes, and okay, I think you've seen me now, and I will then start the screen sharing. So these are my slides. I will talk to you about lobid 2.0. There we go. This is the agenda. First, I will say something about the HPZ and lobid, and as an introduction. Then I will talk about lobid-resources, which is the part of lobid that is about the HPZ union catalogs, bibliographic data. And I will have a section about API documentation, because we put a lot of thought in it this time, and I would like to share it with you. And then I will have some lessons learned, and in the end we have the Q&A. Okay, the HPZ is short, the acronym for the German name Hochschulbibliothekszentrum des Landes Nordrhein-Westfalen, and which translates to North Rhine-Westphalian Library Service Center. The HPZ was founded in 1973, and yeah, we provide academic libraries and also public libraries in North Rhine-Westphalia. It's a federal state in Germany, and beyond, with software services and all around it. For example, we have this union catalog I will tell you about. It's the central service from this beginning of HPZ, and we also have a discovery portal called DigiBib. We have Fernleihe, it's in German, interlibrary loan services, digitization and digital preservation, and also consortial acquisition of e-resources. So, and there are a lot more of services we provide, smaller ones, but this is only an example. And you can, if you want to know more about the HPZ, you can take a look at the flyer I link here. Okay, lobid, what is that? It's like it says, data infrastructure for libraries. The name is an acronym, but we don't use it like this anymore, I think, for linking open bibliographic data. And yeah, we started this in 2010. It was rather research and development. We got familiar with the linked data technologies and standards and the like. But I think in 2013, in autumn 2013, we went into production with some services. and we provide search interfaces for end users as well as web APIs for web developers. And this year we finally officially launched version 2.0 of our APIs after a longer time of open beta testing. Okay, and this lobid is based on data from different sources, which is shown here. We have some lobid organization that provides kind of authority data for organizations, taken from the ESL registry, the German ESL registry, and the organization data from the German library statistics. We also provide an API for the German integrated authority file, the big German authority file, and we provide title data, bibliographic data from the HBZ Union catalog, and all this is provided by the lobid API. And yeah, there are different applications built on top of this. Like, for example, we are working also on the North Rhine-Westphalian regional bibliography, and other groups in our house also use the API for other services and libraries in the library network as well. Okay, this is what I told you about lobid organizations. I won't say much more about this. The start page. There's a little picture you can see there, and it's each time you load the page, you see another one. This is derived from the linking of the libraries and archives and museums we have indexed there to Wikidata, and via this Wikidata link we get pictures from Wikimedia to show them. I think I quite like this quite a lot, so you can reload the page again and again and see what kind of museums and libraries are there in the German-speaking world. This the other part of 3 parts of lobid, this lobid-resources, what I will be talking about today. You see it's only in German. Basically, yeah, it's because this addresses mainly a German audience, so we didn't take the time to translate this. If you want to know more about the technology and play around, you probably rather look at the lobid organizations, because we have translated the API documentation and the like to English as well. But today I will talk about the lobid-resources. Okay. The data is derived from the HBZ Union catalog. There are 56 academic and special libraries cataloging into this Union catalog, and with more than 1,000 institute and departmental libraries. And by now we have over 20 million records and 45 million holdings in it. And it's a catalog in Aleph. That is why I'm holding this talk here, basically, because we use Aleph as software for the Union catalog. And the source format we get out of Aleph is Aleph map to XML. So it's not MARC, but it's basically the MARC field structure with map fields, field numbers we get out of there. So it won't be familiar, the numbering to most of you, I think. However, and the extract, transform, and load process goes like this. We have a daily export of this Aleph map to XML data, which is based on the Aleph publishing mechanism. And then we take this XML data and transform it to n-triples, to RDF, using Metafacture, which is a ETL tool from original developed by the German National Library and now used by many different libraries, and a small community of open source developers has grown around it. And then we have these entry bits and convert them to JSON LD, adding some labels for example for DDC notations and the like, with the tool etiquette, also linked there, and the resulting JSON LD is indexed into Elasticsearch. Okay, and then I forgot to, that's the ETL process, and then on top of the Elasticsearch, we use the Play framework to provide an API and to build the UI. So this is also a show, not only tell. So I will show you something. This is what it looks like. You have a search interface. I don't know. I haven't thought about an example. See, there's some files in there as well. The results come pretty quick, and then the facets are loaded as well. Yeah, and you can, it's basically what you know from other discovery interfaces. So you have some facets by subject, media type, publication type, also by holdings in libraries and the like, and can click on one. See this one. And then if you're interested, you can take a look at the, for each title, you can click on this M for map and XML with brackets around it, angle brackets, and then you can take a look at the source format we used, and then clicking on this JSON LD logo, you see the JSON LD that's coming out of it after the transformation process. So switching back to the slides. Here's also an example resource, might be a bit more interesting. It's not loading. So here it is. So yes, you can see this is there's also a link to a series, I think, and the like, and then you see can take a look at the result in JSON LD. We are using a mix of vocabularies, BibFrame, the bibliographic ontology, Dublin Core, and also RDA. Basically, we see a need to add some information from our source data, and then we look for properties in the different vocabularies, and we have documented our choice vocabularies in a blog post, which vocabularies to use, and yeah. First take DC terms, then BibFrame, bibliographic ontology, and also schema.org. You can see what we use when you click on the context link, and then there's a list of all the classes and types and the URIs behind them we use in the data. Okay, you may have some more questions. What's perhaps a bit quick, I don't know, but I don't know what you want to know. I can tell you more in the Q&A if you want to. Yeah, API documentation. As I said, we put some thought into this and have also published 2 blog posts about this. I will wrap up in this presentation. Thought about, okay, we had really bad documentation in the API version 1.0 and beyond, and we thought we have to do a better job now. If we are have all reworked it all by now, we should also document it better. And we asked ourselves, the first question was, yeah, what do we actually have to document? So basically the first question somebody might ask is, what is this data actually about? How big is it? What is about? Who provides it? And how often is it updated and whatever? So we need a documentation of the data set. That's interesting for people who just want to know whether they have to go deeper into understanding the data or not, whether it's relevant for them. Then on the next step, it's relevant for the people to know how do I interact with the data. So we need a documentation of the API, including the response format, the JSON LD that comes out of it. And the API basically it's JSON LD, where we decided to use it because every web developer can use a JSON LD API without having ever heard of RDF. But people who are interested in RDF should also have a documentation of the properties and classes we use in the data. Also interesting is provenance. Where does the data come from? How is it generated? Yes. So the 4 points we listed. This is the data set description. You won't recognize a lot. And also it's in German. So, but basically there's a link at the bottom. We follow the data on the web best practices recommendation for data set metadata, and you can also see the JSON LD again at the data set description, clicking on the JSON LD logo, and then also rendered it for HTML, so that it is also interesting for normal humans who don't want to, who don't like looking at JSON LD. Yeah, so now we have the data set covered, and the rest is documented at this URL. Let me see. And you see some, yeah, basically how can I query the API? How can I and you can use the Leucine query string syntax with a query and the like, and then it documents the kind of what's it called in English, the MIME types you can get back, like CSV and JSON LD, and or if you want to get bulk downloads, how you can do this and the like. And also we have a little example for Otto. Suggests using use of the API, and there's a little JavaScript snippet. Yeah, but really important is also the documentation of the API responses, so that people understand the structure of the data and what they actually get querying the API or downloading a part or the whole of the data set. Yeah, and we all know these kind of documentation, large PDF files with lists and lists of tabular data, listing elements and proper what properties are behind them, how they're used, and whether mandatory or not, and the like. Yeah, I think nobody really likes it, and it's really hard to work with this to understand data. And and what always bothered me was that examples were missing in these documentation. And I find myself, if I were to try to understand some API, some data structures, looking for examples. Or even if I want to understand how I use an ontology or things like schema.org or so, I really need examples. But often if they are given, they are just an annex to the documentation, and yeah, don't seem so important for most people. But actually, I ask people when I talked at another session in German with some metadata people about good and bad documentation. Everybody said, yeah, good documentation means you have lots of examples. So there's a divide between what people need and what is actually there. So, but this descriptive approach of listing properties and or what they and their characteristics is predominant. And we try to turn it around and put the example into the center of documentation. We ask ourselves, why not put an example somewhere and then attach the structured data, name, description, URI, and etc. of a data element directly to an example. And actually, today there's no problem with annotation tools like Hypothesis. So we did this. This is an English example from the organizations API, but the general approach should be clear. So I have an example resource here, and it's actually loaded each time from the API. So this is live data you get here, and we have everything that is yellow you can click on, and you see some structured descriptions, structured information on the right hand side that we added with Hypothesis. So you can click around, or if you stumble on something using the data, what is this collects about? You can search in this page for the field you are curious about. Click on the yellow. Open the annotation, and then you see some information, including, for example, something like coverage, which is interesting. How many resources actually have information in this field? And there's also always an example query behind this, so people can open it and then they see, I can, yeah, this is a missing search. Yeah, I can search like this for a field where for hits where this field is missing. Or what's another example? I don't know. Here's a use case. Sometimes we added use cases. So this is a good example where we actually provide all the information that might be interesting. We have a name for the property, you have a description, we have coverage, we have use cases with an example query, how I do the query. So people can adjust it for their use case. And we have the URI that is behind this, the Aleph URI, and we have provenance information where it says where the data actually stems from. This is a real, we don't have all this information for each property, but name, description, and URI we have for all of them, I think. Okay, let's switch back to the slides. I think I think everybody hears me. I don't hear anything. That's the problem with the with these webcasts.
It's looking good.
Okay, it's looking good, and you hear me.
I don't have sound on for YouTube, but I think it's okay.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, then. So this is how we document the API response, and I think this is a good approach to document data structures or even ontologies and vocabularies you create. I'm just publishing examples that have the relevant have used the ontology or whatever, and then annotate them. And I also suggested this approach for discussing about what Ex Libris is doing with linked data. So I think it would be very good if they would publish their current JSON LD they provide in this way, so we could actually annotate it and have the discussions right around the data. So I think this would be a very good way to move forward to give feedback to the data they provide. Maybe they will we will do it like this in the future at some point. Okay, like I just said, this is the information we try to attach to each property or class. Yeah, we already looked at this. Yeah, the advantages of such an approach, you always have the context of the document. You have documentation in context. It's not so abstract, separated, like in a table where only the fields are listed. The examples are always up to date. You can even get into discussions with API users. They can ask if they don't understand things. They can write a comment with using hypothesis, and we will get a notification email and can answer there and improve the documentation. I think it's quite intuitive if you know that you can click on the yellow things to get more information. Yeah, and that's I'd say it enables quicker and better understanding of data. Okay, basically this was a big part of already a big part of the lessons learned, how to do API documentation. I think we learned a lot thinking about this. But here's some more lessons we learned during the last years with JSON LD and linked data and providing an API. Okay, so we learned in the beginning we provided a Sparkle endpoint. It's nice for complex queries. I actually miss it sometimes, and we may add it in the future. But for most of the use cases, we have a good, quick and performant API is more reliable and more convenient. And also, we haven't done this yet. You can implement linked data fragments on top of that API, and then clients can also use it to with Sparkle. So I think this is a good way to go. On the data modeling side, we started really early in 2010. We always said, yeah, you have to reuse vocabulary so data is more interoperable and the like. And by now, I'm not really sure whether this is really that important. I think by now we would approach this differently by just building one's own vocabulary as you go along. It's much easier. You can focus on the use case you have, and you add your properties and classes as you need them, and you don't have to bother with looking for properties and classes in other vocabularies. It takes some time. Often it takes some time to find the right ones, or you have to create your own in the end anyway. So I would basically by now just create my own sparse vocabulary, and then when I think I'm finished with my data, I would start aligning it with other vocabularies and describing it more. So I think this is what I learned from all this. Okay, and what we also learned is that it's better to, I don't know whether I phrased this very well, it's probably not so good to understand, that it's rather better to add a label of indirection than use subproperties. What I'm talking about is before we used, I'm opening this blog post, we had, yeah, in the 1.0 API, we had these mark relators. We had different properties for all of them. So, and if you, I don't know, if you use 20 mark relator codes or whatever, you have 20 or more ways of linking a person to a resource, and which makes it quite not so easy and intuitively to query as well. So you have to list all the properties if you want to query for a person that is linked to a resource. So, and now we switch to, I think it is actually the BibFrame vocabulary we use there. We have one contribution array, a list of contributions, and then it always lists the agent for this contribution and his or her role. So this contributor, and here we have translator, and this is much nicer for us to work with. So I think BibFrame did a good job there. What have we learned? What more have we learned? Okay, creating nice JSON LD isn't straightforward, especially if the data is quite complex and nested. It has B nodes and the like, and there are different ways of doing it. There's another blog post behind that link. And we also had some problem with the Java libraries for creating JSON LD, so that we built some things on our own, which I think is the next point. We learned that it might have been better in the end to not create our own solution for producing nice JSON LD, but we should rather have contributed to the existing Java software libraries for JSON LD to fix the issues we had with them. So, but we thought it would be quicker having our own fix or our own library doing this, but in the end it wasn't even quicker, I think. This is another one from a colleague. He told me sometimes it's better to build a new house instead of fixing an old one. This is also refers to the way we create the JSON LD. As I said, we are producing n triples and then converting it to JSON LD. And yeah, in the end, it would have been better to directly create JSON in the transformation and then attach a context to it and have JSON LD, as we do it for lobid organizations actually. But in the beginning, we thought, yeah, okay, we already have this transformation file configuring the transformation from XML to RDF is, I don't know, it's nearly 2,000 lines long or so. And we had all this, and we thought, okay, we won't build this from scratch new, but we will just add to it, and in the end, we noticed that we are not quicker with this approach, and we should just have created the JSON directly. So, so where can Alma improve over Aleph for us? As this is a Ex Libris Igloo Eluna presentation, this should be also addressed. At best, we wouldn't have anything to do at all with Alma if Ex Libris would publish the well-formed, consistent, correct, and comprehensive JSON LD we need. But we know how hard it is to get there. We have put in some years of work into it, so I think this is not very realistic. More realistically, Ex Libris should provide reliable and performant interfaces for getting the data and updates. So we should get dumps of our data and be able to get updates using interfaces like resource based on resource sync or the like. And what would be good for other use cases would be a write API, so that we could inject records or edits into Alma, whether they are BibFrame or mark-based. It doesn't matter that much, I think. Yeah, this is what we expect from Alma, or wish. Yes, so I'm coming to the end now, and we can switch over to the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. That was very interesting and somewhat inspiring. I'm particularly impressed with your being able, your tools for elucidating metadata and its documentation. I want to go back over that. Being able to show from an example document just what each field is and what it does. That's great work. And also, you know, being able to assess how many records have it. I'm on a group that's looking at metadata assessment now, and that's a useful idea. Okay, I see now. Okay, this is good. Ask a question. Go to the Google Slides address. This is posted. If you're looking at YouTube, it's in the live chat. And we expect more questions and hope that if you have any kind of question, you'll ask it. So work level, do you do, how do you, I know you say you have a way of linking to institutional holdings on a particular thing, but are you doing any other kind of grouping? How do you bring together all the different institutions that have holdings of the same thing? One thing. What's the same thing?
Yeah, this is basically, now we don't do work level currently. We had in the very beginning we experimented a lot with it, and we had some work level clustering, but we haven't taken on this work, and yeah, I think we probably will in the future, but and we yeah, basically we had some project that was quite promising, but unfortunately is laid on ice. A German-wide project where there was some clustering from all the, I think we have 5 or 6 union catalogs in Germany, where there was some clustering of records for all these catalogs based on different algorithms, how you need them, because there isn't one way of doing work clustering, I think, one right way. And this was quite promising, and I'm still hoping that this project will come back, and then we wouldn't have to do it again on our level of the union catalog. Yeah. I think the Q&A session, it says for me it is closed. The slide.
Oh, try refreshing.
Okay. No, I see them. Okay. So I can just. Are you supporting Sparkle queries? I said I mentioned it in the talk. But currently we don't do this. In the beginning, when we started publishing the linked data in Lobit, we used Sparkle triple stores, the sole database, and had a Sparkle endpoint. Yeah, but it didn't work out for a lot of things. So we switched to Elasticsearch, which we used heavily in other areas anyway in the HBZ. Yes, but we have an issue a ticket to offer linked data fragments interface, so that clients can query Sparkle, can issue Sparkle queries against the data, but we also don't have this yet.
It's hard. It can be challenging.
I don't know. I don't know whether it's actually so hard to provide linked data fragments interface. We haven't tried it yet, so I think it could in the end it could be quite easy. Is Google harvesting your rich data? One thing for sure, there's much more data harvested than from the Aleph catalog, which can be harvested at all. Let me take a quick look. How much? Currently, it doesn't look like Google is actually harvesting a lot. Making a site .lobid.org .lobid.org search on Google. But usually in the logs, the Google bots are one of the regular users, and they make up a lot of hits to the site. And we have another ticket that we will also provide this provide schema.org markup embedded in the HTML, which would be more interesting for Google probably, but we don't have this yet. This might also lead to more hits from Google. I don't know. It's quite interesting. In the beginning, when we opened up this data, put it on an open license in 2010, there weren't many libraries doing those things, and the data might have been interesting then, more interesting then. But by now, there's a lot of data there, and there are a lot of duplicates from different institutions and whatever. So it might not be so interesting. But we have some subsets in there, like the North Rhine-Westphalian regional bibliography, where a lot of articles cataloged in the like that you won't find anywhere else, and this is and this site we also can be found under nwbib.de the web. This is harvested a lot by Google. So I think it's more about, do I actually have some resources that are unique? Well, if you have those, Google will harvest them. Okay. If a URI in $0 is provided, how will that facilitate the discovery?
Okay, this is if I can help a little bit here. Okay, so the mark, a new field is going to be added to mark. Actually, this is about subfield 0. Okay, so in mark, which is different from map, okay,
Yeah,
there's a way to actually put a URL into a subfield. And right now what we have is subfield 0. It could take an identifier like a number, like an authority record number, but it could also take a URL that's a URI that, or there's a URL that would point you to that authority record on the web. Okay.
yeah.
And there's also going to be a subfield 1, and what that would be is actually an identifier for the entity itself, which is being described in the authority record, so that we can differentiate between the record and the person, place, concept, etc. So do you think that this will be helpful? And particularly if a work ID can be placed in a mark field, would that help facilitate grouping things together?
Yeah, I would love it to have such work IDs in our data, so we wouldn't have to cluster it ourselves. Yeah,
Yes.
this would. If
I haven't heard about them creating the field for the work ID yet. That would be something that we really need about now.
And regarding the other field, I think this is basically what we profit in German. We already profit from this. We have these IDs from the integrated authority file that everybody uses in the German-speaking world, and you can create URIs from them because they also provide the resources as RDF, and yeah, and this made it totally easy to create linked data for us from the beginning, because we already had all these links to the authority data in there. It was a no-brainer to create them. So yeah, of course, this is very helpful if you have something like this. Definitely. Documentation about, yes, good question. We have a lot. Let's see. Where do I put this? I think I can put URLs into the live chat. We'll try this. No, I can't. I will put it into the Hangouts chat, and then perhaps Mehmet can put it. So here we have some documentation about our architecture. We use. And there you have links to the different repositories, and they have documentation for themselves. So this is probably a good way to a good place to start. There might be some things that are not that up to date, but this should work. I don't see it in the. Okay, perhaps I'm sharing my screen again. This might be a good.
Okay, somebody's posted the link into the actual.
Okay, great. Yeah.
That's good.
Ah, there it is. Yeah. So I think this is a good place to start, and then you will find the repositories listed, meta factors also there, and the like. But I see lobid-resources. I have the link in the slides, so you can find it there. We have to update this page. So documentation is a hard job. It's not done with doing it once. Okay, there's another question. Resource ID, new mark, proposal. What is this a question?
I think this is some information maybe about.
Okay.
I'm guessing 75058 is going to be the place to put the work ID, but you'll have to go look at it.
Okay.
That's useful.
Yes, actually in Germany everybody has switched to mark as exchange format. Also the HBZ, but we use the internal data coming from the Aleph, so I haven't cared about it a lot, and I'm still hoping I don't have to get too deep into mark, but I think at some point I might have to.
I won't make any predictions, but it's an awful lot of the world that speaks mark.
Yeah, I know. No more questions. Okay, but I think
I think we're just a little bit bowled over here. This is it was a terrific presentation, and we'll probably have more questions later. Mehmet, can we leave that question forum open at the Google Slides? And if people have additional questions, we'll try to get Adrian to follow up.
Yes.
And I'll be posting, the questions and the link to the presentation and everything to the Linked Open Data Special Interest Working Group. email list. And I'm going to share my screen now. It just has a little bit of information. So I better share the whole screen. Make this present. Okay. So here's a little bit about of information about the Special Interest Working Group, of which Adrian is a member of our working body that meets once a month and tries to plan and organize things and help Ex Libris to realize more better linked open data capabilities in their products. So if you are not on their mailing list, there's a link where you can go to and subscribe. You can also email me, Laura Ackerman. And the mailing list, you know, tries to keep people up to date with what's happening, and with, you know, sending out notices about show and tells, etc. We try to keep the interested Ex Libris customers in the loop as well. And there's a Slack channel if you're interested in things from the developer angle. There's also documentation on the developers network about some of the linked data features being developed for Primo and Alma. And people who are discussing things on the Slack channel are usually people that are into the development. And so we have a channel there that's specific to linked data. And if you have any questions, you can always email me or Roxana Papastasu, who's the deputy coordinator. So thanks very much. Let's see, how do I unshare this now? Okay. Go back. Yeah. And turn it off. There. Okay. So, Adrian, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make, or thanks for being here. I can't hear you. I think Adrian's muted. Oops.
Yes, you are right. I don't have closing remarks. Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody, and yeah, we will answer any questions you have.
Now that we know that you have such amazing APIs, what we need to do is start thinking about how we might be able to use them to get useful data to mash up with our own, perhaps. So I'll just put this into people's ear. We started talking about maybe having a linked data hackathon at Eluna next year, and then maybe another one at Igloo or online. So as the linked data features for Alma and Primo are maturing, Ex Libris is very interested in getting people to think up ways of utilizing this data and hacking it into something that will be useful for our users. So
yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming. And no more questions. I guess we'll end the show and tell now.